faster than light. Agent Mason had worked for the Pentagon for over 20 years, but his experience would never prepare him for what happened that night. Most of his colleagues knew him as an operative with a gruff exterior but a kind heart. He had been stuck leading a small team that was close to cracking a minor case involving a potential domestic terrorist situation. The team had been observing a peculiar group of MIT postgraduate students for some time now. The investigation was triggered when one student's IP address was red flagged for purchasing banned materials. An audit at MIT further aroused suspicion when some expensive tools and equipment had been reported missing. The prime suspects? These students, whose privileged access to certain areas of the university put them under Mason's scrutinizing gaze. The picture that was gradually developing in Mason's mind was grim. He was beginning to believe these kids were assembling a weapon, although the exact nature of their project was shrouded in uncertainty. Their nocturnal activities heightened his suspicion. Huddled in a nondescript rented storage unit in the industrial district, these students worked like industrious ants under the cloak of night, carting in scrap metal and a motley assortment of materials. Mason noticed during his stakeouts how suspicious and heightened the students were as they entered and exited their makeshift lab. It was finally decided that it was time for the team to raid the unit. Mason was ready to crack open this mystery. Storming in with his team, they apprehended the unsuspecting students, forcing them to watch agents tear apart their work as they were handcuffed and placed against the wall. Mason had been expecting some sort of bomb, but as he walked into the unit, he was greeted with a towering metal sphere, complete with attached rockets, standing on rudimentary kickstands. Behind a large glass panel, a colorful chaos of computers, buttons, wires, and controls made the insides look like a plane's cockpit. "What on earth is this?" Mason murmured, his eyes drawn to a large, glowing blue ring on the rear of the machine. It seemed oddly out of place. "It's a UFO, just for a prank," came a feeble response from one of the students. Another student kicked him in the shin. "Shut up, Peter!" Mason, usually calm, felt his temper fraying. "Listen here, boys. I don't find any of this funny. Now you tell me what's going on here, or I'll personally make sure you are locked away in a hole for the rest of your lives." Mason wouldn't have been so harsh with these kids, but just 10 minutes ago he was expecting a horrific dirty bomb or some sort of rogue AI. A terroristic threat that would put the entire country at risk. As Mason worked on the students, a team managed to wrestle the behemoth onto a forklift, ready for transportation. "You won't believe me, but it's a faster-than-light ship," one student finally blurted out. "We were planning on doing a test run next week. Jupiter and back in an instant." Mason grew angrier at this response. "No more jokes. You guys are done." Mason grabbed the student and throttled him into the back of his black SUV. Driven by curiosity, Mason popped open the side hatch and clambered inside the contraption. As he tried to maneuver his way inside the vehicle, he fell, causing the door to slam shut and the outside of the ship to glow a bright blue. The ship let out a loud whine as it catapulted him into the star-studded cosmos. To his astonishment, Jupiter, the gas giant, loomed in front of him. Its colossal form filled his view, the pre-programmed coordinates holding true to the student's wild claim. In a desperate attempt to return, he began to wildly press buttons on the console. In what felt like a single heartbeat, Mason was back on Earth, the ship slamming into the asphalt with its sudden descent. Gathering his bearings, Mason climbed out of the sphere, sure that he had suffered a concussion. As he steadied himself, he felt a sense of regret flooding him as he walked over to his car. He shouldn't have threatened those young boys, who were most likely now sobbing in the back seat. He opened the doors of the SUV and leaned down over the frightened students. "Boys," he began, his voice softer than before, "there is no easy way to say this. You're not gonna see much sunlight after this. I'm sorry it's come to this, but your genius won't go to waste. We'll keep you safe and sound at our secret facility, and your work, well, it might just change the world, but no one will ever know who you are.